Hello and welcome to Eve's Testament. I heard the saying once that sometimes God doesn't change the situation because He's waiting for you to change your heart. Last year I faced many difficulties that I felt were failures, but I realized throughout all of those struggles, I was asking God, why are you letting this happen to me? Instead of asking myself, what can I do to make me a better person? What can I do in order to improve myself because of the situation? How is God looking to change my heart? And we can apply this to every single part of our life. We can ask ourselves, why did this person break up with me? Why did I lose this competition? Why is school not going right for me? Why did I lose my job? But really, what we should be asking ourselves is, God, how are you going to make the good out of this situation? God, how are you going to make me a better person because of this? If you've ever looked at a golf ball, there are little divots in it, or dimples, whatever you want to call it, I'm not really sure. But with those divots, the golf ball would look a lot better if it didn't have those. But it does. And similarly, we all have our divots in our own lives. Those are those times of suffering that make us seem a little less perfect. But see, the divots in a golf ball help it to move faster and further than it would have if it was perfectly smooth. Similarly, the struggles in our life help us to go further in our life. Just like that golf ball, those struggles in our life make us better people, even as difficult as it is to see in those situations. And it's not that God wants us to suffer, but He knows that without that suffering, we wouldn't become the people that we're supposed to be. We wouldn't be able to lean in Him and trust in Him and His timing without those struggles. Because if it was all good all of the time, it wouldn't be faith. If it was all happy all the time, we wouldn't be able to appreciate that sadness. If you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, it's a Disney movie where you looked in the mind of a young teenage girl. And in her mind, she has 5 main emotions, but you mainly focus on joy and sadness. Throughout the whole movie, Joy's trying to get rid of sadness. She doesn't want anything to do with her because she knows that sadness is not always a good thing. You don't like feeling sad. But at the end of the movie, Joy realizes that she is complete because of that sadness. Without that sadness, we wouldn't be able to know joy. We can't appreciate something unless there's something to compare it with, right? Because of that sadness, we get to know, we get to experience, we get to appreciate joy. And because of that, we become more resilient. We become more joyful in those times of happiness and know that in those times of suffering, joy is right around the corner. And as difficult as it is to remain positive in those times of suffering and sadness, we have to remember that it is that positive mental attitude that gets us through it. In fact, there's a story about 2 sisters at Auschwitz concentration camp. And one sister would always complain about there being fleas in their bunks, among all the other things that they were going through. It was just another thing that they had to worry about. But the other sister told her, be grateful even for the fleas, because you never know what those fleas will bring you. Once they got out of the concentration camp, thankfully they did survive. They later learned that the Nazis would go into the bunks of women and rape them and abuse them, which is incredibly unfortunate. But they didn't go into the bunks of the women with fleas. So really, in the end, those fleas saved them more pain than they would have already gone through. And what we can learn from that is that we need to be grateful even for the fleas in our life, because we never know how it will benefit us later. What we need to know in these times of suffering is that God is always by our side. God is not leaving us in our times of suffering. He's not doing this to punish us. He's doing it to make us become a better person. He's waiting for us to change our heart. That may be why the situation isn't changing. Not because He wants you to suffer, but because He wants you to know Him. Because God will always make the good out of any situation. You just need to trust in Him and His timing. And I promise you that He will. It's basically His job. Don't forget to like and subscribe and watch for future videos, because this was my very first video and I'm so excited about it. So be sure to click the subscribe button, like, comment, and check out other videos. It would mean the absolute world to me. Thank you so much, and I hope you all have a blessed day. Last year I faced many